Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of y'all, and peace out to the rest of you. All right, listen, I'll try to make this quick for a good reason. First, I'm gonna give a shout out to Hybrid Vigor. Your last video was informative. You did a good job of summarizing our position. If you said in somebody's live stream comments that biracials would have to cater to those with black fathers, then I can tell you, you're not going to be able to express nuance on a phone keyboard, let alone in a chat section where you're limited to 200 characters, including spaces. However, you explained what you meant pretty well in your video, and controversial points probably should be reserved for uploads or live streams where you get a chance to explain exactly what you mean. But yeah, you did a very good job of summarizing that. And I wish I could get to the point of brevity like you do. I'm still working on it. And that's part of why I'm recording this one in a rush when I know I don't have much time, so I can try to keep it brief. I also want to give a shout out to multiracial movement. You exonerated me. In your last live stream, I told you no already, you exonerated me. I've lost sleep several nights, worried that I may have precipitated exactly what I meant to avoid. And then in your last live stream, you pointed out who it was that actually brought the gender war to the golden sphere, and it wasn't my country behind. So, boy, I slept like a baby last night and this morning. Thank you. I also wanted to point out that although I never tell people who to rock with and who not to rock with unless it's an emergency, I did want to point out that somebody that you may have thought was a professional troll turns out not to be. If somebody was a professional troll just becoming obsessed with someone, then there's something that would make them become obsessed. So what I did was I set myself up to see if such person was in fact obsessive. This particular party turned out to not be obsessive. So what this means is that she really believes what she's saying. And she believes it because someone has sent her evidence of it. Now, the evidence isn't stone cold proof, but it is evidence. Found this out. The other thing is that the former roommate is not a former roommate, never claimed to be a former roommate from that recent, but rather from before. However, the conversation may have taken place about 2 years ago. So that's why the timeline adds up to the one that you previously thought was a professional troll. I'm not telling you to rock with her. I'm just telling you she's not a professional troll, that's all. No, I actually watched an interaction. I wish I could find the link, but I watched an interaction in a previous video. No, she really believes it. But I suspect somebody else is going to come out with more, either to prove something one way or another. It's just a suspicion I got. In any case, I really wanted to record this for the purpose of thanking you for exonerating me when I was sitting up here wondering how guilty I might have been and to what percentage for something that I was really trying to prevent. I also wanted to say to everybody in the sphere, trauma is not to be underestimated and it is not to be overused. Sometimes I use it a lot because I'm not really sure what words to use to express something that is of a similar nature but of a lesser severity. So due to lack of vocabulary, I may use it, I may overuse the word myself, but I do not mean to exaggerate or underestimate actual trauma. And most people have some sort of trauma of some high or low severity based on what they've experienced. I do not trust dogs. I just don't, unless I get to know them for a while. You know, one thing that really triggers me is when I see a dog try to harm a kid or to try to harm a puppy. I don't particularly care what the reasons might be. And I don't feel the same about wolves. But about dogs, yeah. I don't trust them, and I'll harm them to protect myself. So I'm like, I will harm them to protect others. Once one of them shows unprovoked aggression, I never forgive the dog. And I'll try to kill it if I can. Everybody's got some kind of trigger. That's mine. I never start anything with any of them. But I've seen some of them get aggressive just because they were big enough to. No, because the person was nervous. And I'm like, nope, you know what? This one's got to go. Next up, I wanted to say that with regard to JB's trauma, he's got it. And I'm going to say on one hand, listen, JB, it's okay to get professional help if something starts to mess with your sleep, mess with your memory, things like that. If you need it and you get it, there should be no stigma. And I myself would defend you from any stigma that people try to level against you if you were to get it. But you don't even have to disclose that. Because you would not be the first one or the last one to need professional help for something that is not his fault or her fault. But the other thing too, JB, I'm sorry, BJ, my bad. The other thing too is you would have to keep in mind that the golden sphere and the manosphere are both reacting to the same dysfunctional, hypocritical gynocracy matriarchy. It's the same thing that caused these two reactions. I myself don't mind defending black women that actually would defend black men that are innocent, that would defend biracial folks that are innocent. Because my motivation, as I've already explained, is moral and religious. JT Hellstrom thinks that I am a NOI member. That's not the case. I'm a Sunni. The NOI teaches that every white man is the devil. To me, you can't be born a devil. You got to choose. Otherwise, you can't be a devil. It takes free will to be good or to be evil. So I'm not really allowed to sit up and say that a race is created to be godlike, angelic, or demonic. He didn't know that until just now. But I'm going to tell you, sir, it's not the case. And so, just as much as I would tell you to quit bleeding on people that had nothing to do with this, I would also tell you that what the hell happened was terribly wrong and it wasn't your fault. The issue was this, and this is at the core, and this is something that people in the golden sphere a lot of times don't want to hear, but it's still true. The gynocrats don't want to hear this, but it's still true. And then those of us in the manosphere know that this is true, and this is something that's going to have to be accepted. Even a lady who can't stand my high yellow behind smiles knows that this is true because she's also said it. And this is one point in which I will support her. It was not the men that started the gender war in the black community. It is not the men that have a habit of going around and just picking the worst women. You have a few men that would do like the man that abused you and your mom and cheated and used up her money and all that other. You got a few men that even could do that, sir. You don't have a whole bunch of men that can do that. It's not possible for them to do it. Most of us can't. We just ain't gonna be chosen like that. Normal men ain't gonna be chosen like that and then be allowed to do these things. By the same token, when it comes to women, we know women have options when it comes to men. And it's not wrong that they got them, but they got options. And what we want is for them to understand that since they got more options in men than men have in women, that they need to go ahead and take more accountability for the couples that do form and what their experiences are. Because see, when you get down to the stats, and some people want to say, well, black demographics isn't true, but they're only saying that because they don't like the stats that are being presented. Most of their stats actually come from government websites, but they summarize them in one site to be valid for the black population, and by extension, the black descendant or black admixed population. In the end, it comes down to this. The women choose, sir. Now, do they know what their choices were? Before the internet, I'm not so sure. And that's why I'm not sitting here just pointing a finger at your mom. I'm not doing that. Not yet. There were a lot of things back then that many people did not know about each other's situations, so they didn't know how typical their situations might have been, how normal they might have been. And I realized that back then. Now today, this story's different. But what I do want you to understand is that this ain't no most brothers, so your grudge with most black men is not founded. It's just not. Most brothers cannot do what that man did and stay with someone. You were the one that said the words, your mom was race loyal to a fault. So what you're saying is that her fault is not the one that other people might have pointed the finger at, but the opposite. And what I'm saying is that your situation shows that we men have been wrong. We are to be blamed for something else, and that is the opposite of what we oftentimes have thought. That is, we have been too further mucking easy. And that's why a few guys that get hyper-selected and have the low morals to do this will take full advantage, because there's some guys that get hyper-selected, plenty of guys that get hyper-selected, and they don't take the same advantages. My dad's one of them. I'm not just saying it because he's my dad. I came from a situation opposite of yours, and I've been fortunate. He's still alive. He has been good to the family. He had to learn certain listening skills, and he had to overcome some plantation nigger trauma passed on in the form of culture and enshrined to something sacred. Yeah, he did go through that too, but he did it. He's now a great listener, great advisor, great counselor. And I get to bypass some of the errors that he made. And there are times when he says, you bypassing this area. That's good. Other times I got to remind him, no, Pop, I'm not carrying on that nigga tradition. And that's why I call it that. Super quick to go upside somebody's head. No, I'm not doing that. No, I'm not doing that. So that being said, I'm not going to pass on some of these bad things. But the point is that I've been in a situation opposite yours. So I actually have sympathy for your scenario. And it could make me naive. It's possible. I understand some would say to me, look, man, he making that stuff up, man, and you just believe in it out of sympathy. So I realize that possibility, but I'm going to go ahead and give the benefit of the doubt. Because I don't think I don't see you asking for money. Even though I don't follow you, I just haven't even heard of you asking for money, so I'm not going to assume that you're selling the story. So therefore, what motive would you have to make it up? However, sir, most black men could not do this stuff. And the reason that there is a golden sphere is the same reason that there is a manosphere. Because frankly, sir, sisters, no matter what information does come out, even in today's time, with not just the internet, but with social media and verifications in place, what winds up happening, sir, is that sisters choose the wrong men, not just even know these men are wrong, but because they're wrong, they think it's funny, it's great, it's fine. Why not? He. And they're looking at normal men and judging normal men to be the lamest because of what's not wrong with them. That's what's going on in the gynocracy, the matriarchy, from which the manosphere broke away, from which the golden sphere broke away. That's what's happening. Now, you may think I hate you and that I was, threatening you. No, I did pray against you once, and I apologize when I realized it probably wasn't you that said these things. To be fair, because fair is fair and right is right. Wrong is wrong. So, I did pray against you, and I took that back. But no, I didn't threaten you. It would be stupid of me to do that. Threaten? I got bad sinuses, a bad back. I live an ocean and a continent away from you. I haven't had a fist fight in so long. The fact that I'm not scared of a fist fight if I have to get into one doesn't mean that I'm going to go and try to make threats about him. That would be dumb of me. That would be childish too. Disagreement does not mean that I got to go and make threats and talk tough. Talking tough doesn't cut it. And besides, I don't know what your story is. I mean, I just recently found out that you told a crowd with your face facing the camera that a stepdad abused you and your mom. Or was it your mom? Somebody else was the one that said it was you. Whatever the case is, you had to be traumatized by it. And it was specifically in case of something like that I would not just make a threat, even if I was going to curse you out. I don't know what people have been through. I know that people are bringing their traumas and their wounds, and they bleeding all over YouTube, bleeding all over each other. I get that. I got to be careful not to do that, although I don't think I have nearly the same trauma as a lot of other people. I got to be careful not to overuse the word, nor to underestimate the effects of real, legitimate trauma. I got to do all of that. So do you. What I want you to do, though, and for anybody, really, is I want you to be honest with yourself about where all of your anger is. If you exonerate your mom because of what she didn't know back then and what a lot of women didn't know, and I don't know how old you are, make sure that that's what you've done. If you're upset with her, make sure that that's how you are. Whether she's alive or dead, at least be honest with yourself. But you're going to have to face one fact, one way or another. Most black men are not guilty of this, sir. Most of us are actually guilty of being too fucking easy and having standards that are entirely too damn low. And every other black man knows this. And this, by extension, has gone into the programming of black admixed men, be they multi-generational, mixed, still mostly black, like me, or whether they are actually biracial men of whatever arrangement. Many of us still have been, we just got to be honest, many of us have been trained to actually be too easy. We have low standards when it comes to looks, weight, femininity, behavior, all that stuff. And frankly, that's a Western thing, to be honest. That's not even just us. But every other black man that's not ADOS knows this about us. Black women that are not ADOS know the same thing. They know this about us. Thanks for listening. Black Heart, Black Mind, Blackout. Assalamu alaikum, y'all. Till next time.